So let us look now at the Berlin Conference in 1884 to 1885. So as European countries were competing to the territories or for the territories in Africa, conflicts arose. So they were scrambling, and the conflicts they were there among the European countries. So to avoid war among the European states, Otto von Bismarck, he was the German chancellor, he called for the conference in Berlin in 1884. So looking at the heightening or the escalating scramble for Africa, it was at the verge of sparking the war. Therefore, Otto von Bismarck said, no, we need to meet as Europeans as we scramble for territories in Africa. So it was the Berlin Conference of 1884. So its aim was to consider and set up regulations for a peaceful process of dividing up Africa among the European states. So that was the major aim, to say, right, we need to divide Africa peacefully among the European states. So many countries that had interest in Africa were represented at the meeting. So those countries that were there included Germany, Britain, France, Belgium, Portugal, Austria, Denmark, Holland, Italy, Norway, Russia, Spain, Sweden, Turkey, as well as the USA. So all these countries, they met there to say, let us divide Africa peacefully. So what were the guidelines? The guidelines that were laid down at the Berlin Conference. What happened there? Number one, any European state that had an interest to occupy a territory in Africa was supposed to notify the other powers of its intention before implementing it. So, number one, they agreed to say no European country is going just to demand to say or to declare to say we have grabbed this area, nothing like that. So it was said to say, if you want a territory, notify other countries to say, we are interested in this area for this reason. So this was done to avoid conflicts if that territory was already occupied by another European state. So to avoid conflict, it was to be notified first. So the second one was the recognition of the Congo region as belonging to Leopold II of Belgium. So, however, the Congo and Niger rivers were declared as free navigation areas. So they were to be open to all traders of all nations. At the same time, interests of the people of Congo were to be respected. So it was said to say, right, Congo need to go to Belgium, to the king of Belgium. That one, there is no discussion on that. But the rivers, we talk of the river Congo and Niger, which are inside that Congo, they are going to be free to be navigated by all the people like that. So they gave Congo to Belgium at that meeting. So here you have to take note that we are not talking of Congo Brazzaville. So here we mean another Congo. There is Congo, then there is also another Congo Brazzaville. So if you check on the map, you'll see these things. Another issue that was laid down at the conference was each European state that had a colony in Africa should admit to end slave trade. So they also agreed to say, all right, if a country is going to have a colony in Africa, they should also agree to end slave trade. So this was supposed to be done in the colony occupied. So no colony should be occupied, or in other words, they agreed to say no colony should be occupied for slave purposes. To say, all right, we are going to occupy this area so that we get the slaves from there. So they denied that one. And European states should not claim land in Africa and describe it as a reserve for future use. So the claimed land was to be occupied instantly and developed. So they also agreed to say no European country should just say, we have this area for us, but we are going to develop it in future. Nothing like that. Immediately you declare the land, you should start developing that land. And also freedom of trade in the Congo Basin. So all the 14 signatory powers would have free trade throughout the Congo Basin as well as the Lake Nyasa. So they also agreed to say in Congo Basin, they were to have free trade there. All countries, they can go there and trade, and even the Lake Nyasa, they were also to move there as freely as possible. Principle of effective occupation, they also agreed on the same. It stated that all powers could acquire rights over colonial lands only if they possessed them with the knowledge of local leaders. So they said that occupation of that land must be possessed with the knowledge of the owners of that land, that is the local leaders, and disagreements to be settled by the two sides in conflict. So powers that had problems with one another were resolving conflicts without involving the third party state. So they also agreed to say if two countries come into conflict, they have to resolve that conflict, the two of them, without involving another third country. Now let us look at the results. What were the results of the Berlin Conference? Number one, partition of Africa. So Africa was divided among the European states. Number two, great European powers. They claimed more territories. So the great European powers, they had more territories than others. So the great European powers with more resources claimed more territories than those with fewer resources. So this led to many concession seekers infiltrating the interior of Africa to force local chiefs sign treaties for the personal gains. So we see to it that those countries that had bigger resources, great resources, they occupied many areas, unlike those with few resources. As a result, then, those fortune seekers, they were going there independently to sign treaties with the local chiefs in Africa. Another result was that colonial administration in protectorates. So colonialists established administrative systems in their colonies and protectorates. So what happened was that after they declared the different colonies or territories, then they put their people to run the administration of those territories. So another result was that Africa lost its land resources to Europe. So land was controlled by European, and minerals, timber, and agricultural produce were taken to Europe. So we see to it that the Europeans, they controlled land. So they were used to boost the industries in Europe. So those resources or materials or raw materials that were taken from Africa, they boosted the industries in Europe. And also Portugal lost half of what she claimed. So Portugal lost many of its claimed territories in Africa. So the result was that Portugal lost most of the territories in Africa. The major reason was that Portugal was found to be still in slave trade. As a result, she was not ready to do that. On the other hand, she was also defeated by Spain. As a result, she lost the authority to have the territories in Africa. Now here, let us look at the partitioning of Africa among the European powers by 1914. So what happened now? Which countries got which territories? So we talk of Britain colonized Gambia, Sierra Leone, Ghana, Nigeria, that is West Africa, and Egypt, Sudan, that was in Northeast, and Uganda, Kenya, and the British Somaliland, they were in East Africa. and Zambia, Malawi, and Zimbabwe in Central Africa, Botswana, Lesotho, and South Africa in Southern Africa. So you see, Britain was the giant, had a major share of Africa because she got territories in most all parts of Africa, East Africa, North Africa, Central Africa, as well as Southern Africa. France colonized Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, Senegal, Mali, Guinea, Ivory Coast, Dahomey, Gabon, Chad, Equatorial Guinea, French Somaliland, Seychelles, Reunion, Benin, Malagasy, Comoros, and Madagascar. All these again, they went to France. So you can see to it, just as we have said, that all those countries that had more resources, they occupied more land than others. So here we have the evidence. Britain, many territories. France, many territories. Look at Germany. Germany colonized Togoland, Cameroon, Namibia, Tanganyika, Rwanda, and Burundi. All these, they went to Germany. Belgium colonized the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Congo that we now we call DRC. Now it went to Belgium. So just as we said, there is also another Congo Brazzaville. That one went to France. And Portugal colonized Guinea-Bissau, Angola, and Mozambique. Italy colonized Libya, Italian Somaliland, and Eritrea. Spain colonized Morocco, Rio de Oro, and Spanish Guinea. So those were the countries how they colonized their areas in Africa. But Ethiopia and Liberia, they were not colonized. Ethiopia and Liberia, they were not colonized. Let us look at the reasons why Liberia and Ethiopia, they were not colonized. Number one, Ethiopia, in 1896, Ethiopia successfully defeated her political independence from the Italians, defended her political independence from the Italians, whom they defeated during the Battle of Adwa. So in 1896, the Ethiopians, they defeated their colonial masters, that is at the Battle of Adwa. Hence, they were no longer under the Italians. And also, Liberia freed the slaves from America. The freed slaves from America were sent to Monrovia in Liberia. So in 1841, Liberia stood out as a free state in Africa, and it was officially recognized as such in 1847. So Liberia did not fall under any other territory. That's where if you remember, we also said that they set up the judges, the judges that were judging cases in there in Liberia, there where they were judging cases of the slave trade. And also the major reason why it was not occupied or colonized, we are saying that because all those slaves that were freed, they were sent to Liberia as a free state, whereby the people there, they were to be independent by their own. So by 1847, Liberia was already a free state, never to be taken or occupied by any other country. Now, let us look at the effects. What were the effects of partition of Africa? So we are going to look at both the negatives as well as the positives. So let's start with the positives. Number one, end of slave trade. It ended slavery and slave trade in Africa. So slavery and slave trade ended in Africa. And there was also the creation of larger nation states or nations or states. It led to the creation of new nations made up of former small states, e.g. Malawi was made up of made from the Chewa, the Tonga, the Tumbuka, the Ngonde, the Ngoni, the Yao, that were smaller states. They were independent. The time the Europeans were coming here, the Tumbuka were on their own, the Chewa on their own, the Ngonde on their own. But with the coming or with this with the partition of Africa, when it was declared to be under the British, therefore all this area, it was under the British and formed one state, that was Nyasaland or Malawi. And another positive was the Western education in Africa. It led to the introduction of formal Western education in Africa. Now education was introduced in Africa, which was managed by the governments of Europe. And also healthy services, introduction of healthy and other social services in Africa. So those services were introduced when those Europeans were managing their colonies. And also urbanization. We see to it that it led to the development of urban centers in Africa. When the Europeans came in, they started to develop some of the towns, like these places where they settled. They were developing into towns and the capital cities. Another positive was the modern transport and communication system. There was the introduction of modern transport and communication systems, which led to the to open up the interior of the different colonial territories. So there was the development of communication as well as transport system, that network that connected the coastlands and the interior. And also there was the introduction of new crops and better farming methods. New crops, for example, we talk of tea, coffee, maize, and better methods of agriculture, as well as the use of fertilizers and pesticides to improve the yield. So all these, they were introduced after those countries, they started to manage their colonies. What about the negative sides? What were the negative effects of the partition of Africa? Number one, loss of sovereignty, loss of independence. So ethnic groups were ruled by the different European countries and deprived them of their national sovereignty, to say their independence were grabbed. They were not ruling by their own. By this time now, it meant that they were under the charge of the European countries. And also new boundaries. So the new boundaries were created, which were created were almost almost all intact today. So these boundaries, the boundaries today, when we talk of the shape of Malawi, how it was shaped by them, the whites or the colonial masters, the ones that grabbed the areas. They are the ones who said, all right, our territory that we are going to have runs in this area. So all those the boundaries that we see on the map there, they were made by the whites. They are made by these people, the Europeans, after this partition of Africa. And also there was the breakup of ethnic groups. So breakup of ethnic groups which were under different colonial administrators. So this created social problems in African states. So we see to it that the ethnic groups were break up. For example, when we talk of Malawi, there are the Maravi. The Maravi, some they extended to Zambia, others to Mozambique. But when the maps were drawn, those that were outside, they were regarded as the Mozambicans, and the Zambians, and those in Malawi, the Malawians. So it was a permanent breakup of those ethnic groups. And also disempowerment of traditional rulers. So traditional rulers, they lost their political and judicial powers, except in very limited areas affecting the customary matters. So we see to it that the kingdoms that were there, like the Maravi kingdom, the Ngonde, the Nyakyusa, whatever, they had the leaders, they had political authority as well as judicial powers. So when the areas were colonized, when the areas were taken by the Europeans, it meant that the judicial powers or political powers of those kings or chiefs, they were lost. So there was that disempowerment of traditional rulers. And also reduction in food production. Africans no longer produced enough food to feed themselves, as they were employed in settlers' plantations and mines. So Africans were not having full control over the land, but the Europeans dictated on the use of the land. So we see to it production of enough food declined because the Africans in those territories, they were forced to work for the white settlers who came, who now became the owners of the land. As a result, there was a shortage of food, and control of land was in the hands of the whites. And also, we are saying rebellions against the colonialists. Natives were rebelling against the colonialists because of land wrangles and the dictatorships on what to grow on the land. So now and again, the Africans, they were not happy with how the Europeans were managing them. As a result, they were rebelling against them because they were always dictated on what to do in their own land. So people were not happy with that. Another one is the border disputes among the countries in Africa. So border disputes split people of the same tribes to belong to different countries. For example, we talk of the Tutsi and the Hutu of Burundi and Rwanda. So we see to it the Tutsi and the Hutu. They were now and again in border disputes because they were divided. The same people were divided to say, all right, the Hutu, some Hutu are in Rwanda, some in Burundi. Some Tutsi are in Rwanda, some in Burundi. With that, there was the border disputes among the African countries. And also assimilation and westernization. Africans, they lost their customs and traditions since they were forced to copy the European culture. So the assimilation and westernization, we say the customs, traditions, and culture. The African culture was taken to be primitive, and while the Europeans were, they were the one to be practiced as to say this is modern, this is the civilized way, while yours, the Africans, is the primitive way. So that one, the Africans, they lost their culture and they were westernized. To be westernized, to adopt the Western culture. And also discouraging of African manufacturing industries. So Africans were producing raw materials to be used in European industries, which in turn were producing goods which were sold in Africa. So African industries were suppressed by the Europeans. So we see to it that raw materials were taken from here, from Africa. When they went out, they were produced there, they were manufactured. After they do that, they brought them back and they were also selling to the Africans. In such a way, we find it that African industries, they were not promoted, they were suppressed, they were brought down. Now, to this far, we have come to the end of this topic, and I hope you have noted some of the beneficial issues in this topic. We have covered a number of issues in this topic on the partition of Africa. We have seen that European countries, they were scrambling for Africa to grab territories for various reasons that we have looked at. We have looked at the social factors, political factors, economic factors, as well as strategic factors. And we have also seen how these countries, or which were the countries that were scrambling, and how they divided. And lastly, we have also looked at how these countries, or the effect of the partition of Africa. So we have looked at both the negatives as well as the positives. So we believe, or I believe that we have done a lot. I believe that we have taken a lot. We have done a lot in the same. Now, here with me is the work that you are supposed to do. This work is not much. You go through it and you are going to enjoy answering these questions. But question number 8, as usual, is an essay. So an essay has been also taken from within. Discuss the factors that led to the partition of Africa. So you are going to discuss a lot from there, from the factors there that we have discussed. I hope you have been following a lot. So the reason we do this is that you have to make sure that you answer these questions. because it is important that you answer these questions. You have, as I usually say, you have the resources, you have the books, you go to school, you attend good schools, but then the way to answer questions sometimes it becomes problematic. So make sure that you answer these questions. Then I will also be giving you the feedback on the same. When you answer, as usual, send your answers to this number, which is on WhatsApp, or the email address that is here. So make sure you forward them. After you answer, you write using pen and paper on your using your own handwriting there, own handwriting. Then use the blue pen, which looks better. Then you scan or you take a photo and you send it via WhatsApp. I'll also download, mark, and send you back. So in this way, just as you have done with, I believe you have done with other topics, do the same with this one. Then it is going to be well with you. Now, this then tells us that we are through with the Form 1 history. So Form 1 history ends with partition of Africa. I hope you have been following. If you have missed, just do it again. Do it again and again. Repeat, repeat, and repeat again. The reason for repetition is that you have to master it. Don't take it very simple. Don't take it lightly. No subject is simple. No subject is hard. Every subject, take it in a normal way to say, all right, this is the subject that I'm going to sit on for exam. I have to take it seriously. Where you miss a point, you have to go back. So the advantage of the this DVD is that you can always replay. You can always replay. If you missed the same concepts in class, you can just come home, sit quietly, discipline yourself, and follow it through. Then you'll be okay. So make sure you do it just like that. Repetition, repetition on all the subjects, on all the subjects. By the end of the day, you see that you are going to do it better. So remember that the questions at the end of each and every topic, they are very, very important. Don't neglect that one. Do those questions, answer those questions, because in so doing, you are going to know whether you are able to know the answers and write them correctly. So on the other thing is that don't just copy from, say, all right, maybe you are on the screen, then you pause, you copy the answer when answering. No, follow the lesson, answer the question independently without copying. From there, then you are going to see, am I able to write correctly the answers that or the issues that I am hearing? So that is it. So the next topic, because the work goes on, the next topic is the topic 1 for Form 2, and this one is the Iron Age in Central Africa. So for all these topics that we have covered in Form 1, they must take you the one whole term, or they must take you the 1 year, the whole academic year, term 1, term 2, term 3, you have to be doing it. That is to say, all the subjects. Because of all the subjects, you have to do this a little, this a little, this a little, until that year. So after you are done with this topic, remember Form 2 is waiting for you. That is Iron Age in Central Africa. And Form 2 again is already on DVD. All you can do is call again. You call, you make that call to say, I need topic 1 from 2. Go step by step, like that, until you sit for exam. So until next time, do it hard. If it is hard, do it hard. If it is simple, do it simple, but just do it.